everyone. This is Charles with MTCScreens.com, bringing you the long-awaited 6B panel for your Sea-Doo Wake, Mastercraft X Series, and the Vortex from 2015 to 2016. As you guys know, there is a lot of problems with delamination, bubbling. Many times the display goes black or dim or impossible to see, like on this unit here that also has the delamination. They also cause touch response problems, unresponsive, frozen, a terrible appearance like on this Wake Challenger boat here. And they're all caused from the same root cause, which is delaminated or defective LCD panel. You can see the glue that is originally used to bond these two materials together. It tends to fail in a marine environment with heat and sunlight and separates. We move through a lot of these. I've never seen any problems with these displays besides the LCD panel, so no need to spend $16,000 at the dealer service desk for a new unit. We can save your old one. Let's take a look at some benefits of our Generation 2 panel. First off, it reads 132 on our luminance meter compared to the factory design, which we see here next. It's much lower at 77. So that's a difference you'll see on the water on sunny days. It's going to be a lot easier to see your display now with Generation 2. So in addition to the brightness, we've improved the bonding method that's going to be more sensitive to the touch, and it's also going to look sharper too as far as the anti-glare. It's been improved. We're using the 2024 model LCD panel. This is current modern design rather than the old obsolete design that the factory ones use. So that means no more part shortages, back-ordered, volatile parts supply, that kind of thing, because we have these new panels that are in ready supply, no shortages planned. We've also got a nice new packaging as long as you order after Q1 of 2024. If you order prior to that, you may receive a cardboard box, but no worries, we have the new packaging on the way. And also the tools are included that are commonly used to do it yourself. Alright, if you want to repair your display, we have 3 options for you. You can mail it in and it will get replaced and sent right back to you for reinstallation. You can order just the panel and install it yourself, as we'll see here in this video, or a refurbished unit where you send your core back in, but those are very limited supply and hard to find. So in this video, we'll show you the do-it-yourself method. You'll need the tools in this display here: a heat gun, some hand tools, make sure you have safety glasses and latex gloves on hand, isopropyl alcohol, and then of course the 6B retrofit kit available from MTCScreens.com. You'll want to give yourself about 45 minutes to an hour or so, and kind of a common sense disclaimer: use caution when handling glass or anything hot. And if you don't feel comfortable with this, just mail it in. It's only a few $100s more. We'll get it fixed up for you with no risk of injury or damage. So today in this video, we're going to be working on a customer's Challenger Wake boat. As you can see, this one is pretty much burned out, black. You can't see anything. Also has delamination and the touch response problem. So all the things that could go wrong with this display have gone wrong, and we will fix it up. The person who owned this boat doesn't want to pay $6,000 at the service desk for a new unit. So no problem, we're going to install this new 6B retrofit kit. It's going to be a nice electroplating there to see it in direct sunlight, and we'll fix all the previous problems we talked about. So first off, gather all your supplies. We use a heat plate available on Amazon, but you can also use a heat gun if you have that. All we're trying to do is heat the perimeter of the glass, the outside inch or so. We don't want to heat the inside because it's not necessary, and all we're doing is softening up or causing the tape that holds the LCD panel to release its bond, and heat does a great job at that. So also a T10 Torx bit is one thing you'll need, and the tools that come in with the do-it-yourself kit are shown as well. So first off, if you're using the heat plate, I find that 170 degrees Fahrenheit for about 8 minutes does what it takes. Otherwise, if you use the heat gun, just kind of heat it until you can put your finger on the glass, but not for more than about 2 seconds or so. It's kind of a rule of thumb for how hot the glass needs to be to remove it easily. Alright, so once the glass reaches that threshold where it's too hot to touch for more than about 2 seconds or so, you're probably okay to start with the removal process. So make sure you have your safety glasses on. We don't want to have any glass shards flying at you in case the glass breaks. Fill up your little container with isopropyl alcohol and then grab your metal pry tool that comes with the kit. I usually dip it in the alcohol to kind of help slide that tool across the surface and separate the glass from the tape. So the key here is we don't want to break the glass. You want to take your time, go slow, and very, very slowly add a little bit each time. So cut it, add isopropyl, cut it again, and over time it'll soften up. You can always add more heat, add more isopropyl, and use those two things to help separate this tape bond cleanly and without breaking the glass. The key here is to be patient. Don't try to rush it. Otherwise, the glass will break, and then from there it's a big mess, and there's no need for it. In this video, actually, this glass did break a little bit, but we're able to salvage it without causing any further damage by following these steps. Don't be afraid of adding more heat if it ever feels difficult to remove. You want to heat it up more and use more isopropyl to prevent cracking the glass. Take several passes, as you can see here. Each pass gets a little bit more loosened up. Come back and add more heat in case the panel cools down during your process. There you can see how much easier the glass separates when it's heated up a little bit more than when it's colder. There you can see that side's loose where there's no more resistance between the tape and the glass. We'll just kind of go around trying to avoid that crack spreading there. Alright, so now we can see that the glass has separated its bond and it's pretty much freed from the tape. We can go around here and start at the side with the white wire. You'll see that white wire there. Reach in, grab the connector and pull it away from the LCD driver. It'll separate there. And now it's only held in place with the left side wiring. We'll show you how to remove those pieces next. So this orange cable is called the Digitizer. It's your touch screen. This is a very simple slip connection that kind of just pushes forward. That tool doesn't quite get it, but you can use your fingers and kind of gently just click it forward like that. That's the open position. And then remove the Digitizer by pulling it away. Next up, you can move to the pink and white wires, which are the backlight wires. They're usually held in place with some sort of retention clips, retention holders that you can see here. They open up pretty simply. Obviously, there's a lot of glue mess, as there will be in yours as well, but just kind of work around that, free up those wires, and then once you're able to access the backlight module, you can pull it away. This is where the latex gloves come in very handy to prevent a huge mess of this glue getting everywhere. It's very sticky and viscous, kind of think of like RTV silicone that has not cured yet, just a little bit thinner. It's very, very messy. So all right, so now these connectors simply pull away from the board. You grab it and then pops right off. There's no clip, there's no tab, it's just friction that holds those two backlight modules in. So pull those off, and now your LCD panel should be totally separated. You can put that on a paper towel or set that aside. We'll continue on with the tape removal. The method that I find works is exactly what you see in the photo. Grab a section of it and pull it at a low angle, and it will release from the plastic pretty cleanly. Every once in a while, I'll have one that gets sticky and very difficult to remove. I generally use more heat on that one, use a heat gun, and until the glue softens up and pulls away just like you see here. With the tape removed, you can now use your metal tool to remove the sort of mountain of glue that has settled to the bottom of your display. Some displays have more than others, but it's always a good idea to remove that so it doesn't remelt and cause problems with your new LCD panel later. So I try to get as much as I can out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we just want any sort of huge amounts of buildup removed. And then you can move on to the next step, which is to use the paper towel and isopropyl alcohol to remove the glue residue. So I dip a paper towel in your isopropyl, go around this, just like before, use a few passes. The glue sort of melts with isopropyl, so give it some time to work there. Keep going around until you get it mostly cleaned off without a lot of residue behind, so you can get a good bond with your new tape. Alright, so once you get all the glue residue mostly removed and everything ready to go, we can continue on with the next step, which is to remove the original white video cable. So this connector works similar to the other one, where it kind of clicks away from the connector, two sides, and then the video cable just slips right out. That's the unlocked position. It's kind of obvious here, but also use extreme caution. You don't want to break any components off your board with a screwdriver or a tool slipping, so use extreme caution here to prevent damage to your board. So now we'll remove the 5 T10 screws that are around the outside and middle of the motherboard here. You don't have to use a power tool as shown here. You can use a small hand tool. And keep the screws, we're going to reuse those later. Now you can flip the unit to the back and take a look at the SD card slot to see how that lines up with the plastic housing there. And you'll notice the 2 yellow plugs in the center. Those are surrounded by a rubber grommet or rubber seal. And I try to generally push those yellow things forward to kind of get the motherboard to come loose. Those are usually the stickiest points of removing the motherboard from the housing, is those rubber grommets. Over the years they get just kind of tight. Also, if you have any of the retention clips like you see in this video, you'll need to remove those as well, as they'll get in the way of the motherboard removal, and you won't use them again anyway, so you can throw those out. So it's kind of a process. You want to evenly apply pressure to the yellow plugs, pull it from the front very, very gently, push on the metal pins at the bottom to help guide the whole thing out evenly. You don't want it to bind up or get twisted or come out at an angle, and obviously you don't want to damage this board either, so use common sense here, be gentle with it, and push the board out from the back, and it'll loosen up, and then it'll come out just like that. Once the board is exposed, you can remove the white power cable from the backlight inverter there, and we'll go ahead and remove the backlight inverter. This is no longer used. This is an obsolete part, so that can be discarded here. And just an extra tip for Taiga owners, remove the white harness from the board. It just pulls away. Yellow plug to help it slip through the rubber grommet. Now take your rainbow cable that comes with the 6B and put it in the spot where the other white one was. This only goes in one way. We'll get a really up close shot here that shows you what orientation it goes in. Be gentle, put it in, and make sure it bottoms out against the connector. Don't leave it in halfway or crooked or anything. There's a nice shot that shows you that this is straight up all the way. The red wire's at the top, and that's a secure connection. So with that in, we continue on with the reinstallation of the board into the housing. Couple important tips here. Apply some isopropyl alcohol on the yellow plug metal barrels. This helps them slide through the rubber grommets in the housing. Also, make sure your pins go through the holes. Sometimes if you rush, the pins won't be installed right in their holes, and it'll bend and cause a lot of damage. So just like before, try and get everything to come forward evenly and smoothly. You can see the yellow plugs there coming through the rubber grommet. Use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. It'll help them slide through the rubber and not get hung up and cause you problems. The other thing that can cause problems is the SD card. It kind of goes into its own slot in the plastic housing. So you can see there, you want to just get that aligned so it doesn't bind up on anything. There it is. That's lined up right there. So now that everything's lined up and coming through properly, if your rubber grommet fell out of place, you can readjust it and get it resecured there by just tucking it in until it's flush. Make sure that seal doesn't get folded over and create a potential water entry point in the future. All the pins are in, all lined up good, that's good. And the motherboard's all the way in. So this is a good time to put your rubber caps back on the back side. And we'll go ahead and reinstall the T10 screws. So this is very important to not over tighten these. Just until the metal of the screw touches the motherboard is all that has to happen. You don't need to over tighten it. You don't need to go crazy with it. It's not going to go anywhere. Be very gentle with this, because over tightening it would cause damage to your board, and we don't want that. All right, so now with your display oriented like this with the rainbow cable on the left, you can create a platform by using the shipping box or something similar to kind of get it aligned, to get your new LCD aligned with the top of the housing. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you enough space to bring the digitizer cable into the connector that we see here. So it's unlocked, insert it all the way in, and while it's all the way in, go ahead and lock down that cable by pushing it forward. So you can see one hand here is holding it in, the other one slips it forward and locks it into place. So from here on out, you don't want to have any stress on that cable. It'll pull it away from its connector. We just want to avoid that. So be very gentle and cautious of what you're doing here with the LCD to avoid putting too much stress on it. All right, now we can take the white adapter board, pop that off just like that from the new LCD, and we'll use the other end, the other white end that has the exposed silver pins, to install into the motherboard. So make sure the motherboard connection is open like it is now. Insert that white cable in until it stops. Make sure it's even, it's not crooked or tilted, and while it's being held in, use your hand to click it closed. And I try to do these locks evenly, because if you do one side then the other, it tends to push the cable out of position. So here you can see it's straight all the way fully in. You can almost not see the silver pins. That's a sign that that connection is good to go. So next up, we want to create some kind of a wedge or a position balancing the LCD with the right edge of the housing. Kind of like you see here, it's going to kind of tilt down, and that gives you access to the connections at the very top here. So first off, we're going to use the rainbow cable, and that is going to go into the board on the top here on the back of the LCD. It only goes in one way. The red wire is on the top position. You can kind of see those silver pins. It's pretty straightforward, just like the other ones were. Just insert it in the connection and push it straight in all the way until it bottoms out. Make sure you get it fully seated instead of halfway or crooked. Right there you can see that connection is solid. We only have one left. Now we'll take the other end of that white video board, orient it so it's above the board, and these will click right into place. You'll hear 2 clicks, and you'll see these 2 squares, these 2 cutouts. That's where the locks kind of click into place. It's just a friction lock, sort of a latch, but you want to make sure that's fully seated all the way, just like that one is. It's a really good solid connection. So at this point, all of your connections are made, and from here on out, you want to avoid putting stress on any of them. Don't put the board in a position to where it can pull out of the connection. So tilt the right edge of the glass, and this is a temporary fit up. So we're just going to kind of get this LCD in here. Obviously it's not secured with anything, it's just sitting in the connection. So if you need to use tape or some way to secure that LCD to your housing so it doesn't fall out while you're putting it in your boat and testing it out, because that would be that could cause some serious damage. Anyway, once you get the temporary fit up in your boat, go ahead and test your touch response. Make sure it's illuminated, everything looks good. If for some reason it doesn't, go back and check your connections and make sure they're all straight and even. Make sure all your connectors are locked as well. Sometimes people forget to lock the connection, and of course it's not gonna work. But as you see here, this is responding really nicely. It looks great, and this display is properly secured. So we'll pull the power from it, and now the next technique, you'll essentially hold the LCD about 1/2 inch off of the plastic housing surface. And the reason why it's 1/2 inch is so you can reach and grab the backing strips for the tape. One side has like a little extra you can grab and pull off. Be aware that this tape is extremely sticky, and as soon as it touches the plastic, it's going to want to stay there permanently. So try and keep it off of the plastic until you're totally ready to secure it, with all the 4 backing strips removed. This is the third one. One backing strip per side. All right, and then there's the final backing strip. So now the tape is fully exposed. We'll want to start with the right edge first, the side with the digitizer. Make sure you're not pinching that in the housing. Align it with the right edge and just kind of tuck it into place. Look at the left side, make sure none of the wires are pinched, and that's it. Push the LCD down, gently go around the perimeter to get that pressure adhesive to bond with the housing, and your unit is like new, fully restored, and ready to go for a long, long time. If you have any extra glue on the outside, you can clean that off with isopropyl alcohol just to clean the unit up before reinstallation. But that is it. That's all there is to it. About 45 minutes or so, all basic hand tools, and you have fully restored your boat, saved up to $15,000 depending on your boat make and model and the dealer, of course. All right, all the glue is off. We can take a look at the screen and look at the nice electro blue, better than new coating. This display is ready for installation. Congratulations on the job if you chose that path. Your unit is ready to go and give you many years of service. You can order at mtcscreens.com. This is the 6B. And if you like it, tell your friends, post on the forums and Facebook groups, talk to your friends at the marina, that we now have an option finally to rebuild and restore these units instead of scrapping them out and spending exorbitant amounts of money on a new display. If you have any questions or if you have interest in a different display, Charles at mtcscreens.com. Thanks for watching.